It's no secret that there's tons of money to be made in the world of real estate investing. Unfortunately, the average person doesn't have the necessary capital needed to get started. Well, I got a secret for you. There's a way you can get started as a real estate investor without having any capital up front. Let's talk about it. What's good, everyone? Welcome to TVT, the Visionary Tycoon. I'm Kendrick, and in today's video, I'm going to be teaching you about a real estate exit strategy that requires no capital to get started. You heard me correctly. There's a real estate exit strategy that requires no money down to get started, and that is wholesaling real estate. Wholesaling real estate is essentially like this. You find a property, get it under contract, and then sell that contract to a more well-established investor. Okay, end of video. Okay, I'm not going to leave you hanging off of that BS definition. Granted, that is how simple wholesaling real estate is, but there's a few things you might want to know about it before getting started. Now, let me go and describe a little bit better what wholesaling real estate really is. You go and get a purchase agreement that you would normally use to purchase a home, but make sure it has a specific clause that states that that agreement, that document, is what they call assignable. That's the most important part. Without that, you cannot do a wholesaling deal. So now that you have that document, you're going to be looking for a property that, preferably starting off, requires a little bit of work, some TLC. A property that has curb appeal issues. It either has high grass, noticeable damage, wear and tear along its sides, or, is vacant. Granted, these descriptions fit a lot of houses, and you can wholesale a property from any neighborhood, be it in the hood or in a gated community. The ones that are sort of midway typically tend to fare a bit better. So you're gonna be looking for the diamond in the rough.
The diamond in the rough. What are you waiting for? Go on.
Once you've found it, you're gonna take a picture of that house. Yeah, that sounds a bit creepy, but it becomes more natural the more you do it. Like I said, you're gonna take a picture of that house, make sure you got the street and the address. After that, you want to enter that property on the county's website so that you can figure out who owns it and maybe get some idea as to what their tax situation is for their property. Has it been paid? And if not, that's something you want to calculate into your budget later. And even though I say budget, keep in mind you do not have to pay a dime to do this. Now, after you've acquired that information, you need to figure out how to contact the owner. To do this, you want to do what's called skip tracing. There are several ways that you can do this, some that cost money, but for the purpose of this video, I'm going to give you a quick gem in the form of truepeoplesearch.com. On this website, you'll be able to find for free a potential number to contact the homeowner. And I say potential because it's not always reliable. Sometimes you will get expired numbers, but for free, you can't really complain. You might have to do a little more grinding if that doesn't work for you. Next, we have the part that a lot of people tend to get stuck in a state of paralysis by analysis, and that is where you actually pick up the phone and call the homeowner. This phone call will be one of the most important parts of this wholesale transaction. You want to find out as much information regarding the property, if there's any foundation issues or any wear and tear that you couldn't notice from the initial drive. You also want to figure out the tax situation, whether or not there's another owner that you couldn't find in the county's records that could potentially get in the way of you purchasing this property. You also want to make sure the main thing you do is build rapport, because you can have a bullshit number that they normally wouldn't agree with, but because they like you, they will more than likely accept your offer over a more well-established investor that has money to blow. Now, make sure you schedule an appointment to view this property. Granted, it's not mandatory that you see it in person, but me personally, I wouldn't feel right trying to sell a property or a contract for a property to another investor if I haven't even seen it in person. That's it is what it is. But yeah, make sure you schedule an appointment so you can go and see the property in person. That way you can get a good feel of what it looks like on the inside, see if there's any noticeable wear and tear that the owner didn't disclose on the telephone call. After this, you pitch up a number. Now, how do you get a number, you might be asking? There are several ways, but the most common and easy to calculate formula will be to take the property. Let's use $100,000 as a value because that's easy to work with. So say that the property is $100,000. Now you're going to go and subtract 30% of that, because if you're going to be selling it to an investor, they're not buying the property to live in. Granted, you can sell it to a homeowner. 9 out of 10, you want to go with an investor, but that's neither here or there. You're going to go and subtract 30%. How you do that is go and take that 100,000 and multiply that by 0.7. This will subtract 30%, which will leave you with 70%. Now you're left with $70,000. Now comes an important part that will dictate whether or not only will the house sell, but whether or not you're able to make a good cut from this deal. You want to go and subtract any repair cost. You can either hire a contractor, which is preferred, to go and do a walkthrough and give you a more accurate number of what needs to be done through an initial inspection, or you can sort of airball it if you know the price for various products and calculate a number. And there's various other methods that you can easily Google or look up on YouTube for how to come up with the cost for repairs. After you subtract the cost for repairs, here comes the most important part, or the fun part, and that is calculate your cut. You want to be able to make something out of this. Me personally, I try to work the numbers to where I can make at least 20K. You can start off small or big. That's up to you, what you need, what you want, etc. But you want to figure out how much you want to get from this deal, or how much you can get from this deal. Because if you've subtracted $20,000 worth of repair and now the number is down to $50,000, a homeowner, unless they're in a desperate situation, isn't going to bite 9 out of 10. Now, if you build rapport, you can make that number work in a deal, but you can't give that in a deal, otherwise you will not make any money. So with a number like that, you could probably get away with $5,000 to $10,000 off, maybe, if you build rapport, or if the homeowner is in a desperate situation. How you do that? Again, it's just simple subtraction from the number that you have left, which is 50K. So say you want to make 10,000, that takes that down to 40K, which is your MAO, whatever you want to call it, which stands for your maximum allowable offer. After you get this number, you do not offer that up front. You want to haggle a little bit. And a good rule of thumb, you never offer the number first. You always want to let the homeowner throw you a number and negotiate from there. There's some superstition around that, but hey, it's just good practice. So you go and try to get the property for as low as possible. So give yourself a $10,000 window and drop that number down to 30K. If they don't bite, then you go up little by little, maybe 2,000 at a time until you reach your MAO. Now there are some exceptions, and if you're desperate for money and you are willing to settle for a $1,000 cut, then you can drop that number that low so that the homeowner will accept your offer. Now let's say that everything went according to plan. You now have a property under contract, and now what? You want to go and find a real estate investor that you can sell said contract to. There are several ways to do this. You can use Facebook to post an ad in a marketplace or one of your local RIA groups for that property, and 9 out of 10 a real estate investor will bite. But you gotta be wary, because some people who know about the wholesaling exit strategy might be practicing it themselves, and you don't run into a lot of them, but there's always this one person in a field who is greedy and will try to be sleazy and take a deal from under your nose. It's happened to me before, and just be careful so that it doesn't happen to you. But yeah, you want to post that property in a group, or you can take it a step further if you're willing to sacrifice 50% of your cut and work with a real estate agent. A realtor or real estate agent not only has access to the MLS, which is great when it comes to finding a comp to get your number to begin with, but they also have access to the numbers and data of various other investors in your marketplace. And if you are willing to take a 50% loss, you can go and do what's called a JV, a joint venture deal with that agent, and they will help you get it sold. They are great at it. That's part of what they do. They help sell houses. So that's also an option. Not only will you be able to sell the house, but they can also help teach you more about the world of investing and are a great asset to have in your back pocket. Like one of my favorite influencers says, who also wholesales real estate, half of a watermelon is better than a whole grape. So it's better to get half of something than all of nothing. So take that into consideration if you've gotten the property under contract and are having some difficulties selling it, that you can always joint venture. Joint venture deals not only applies for realtors and real estate agents, they are also deals that can be made with other investors, whether it's for a wholesale deal, subject to a short sale, etc. There's various ways that you can work together with others so that you can make a profit. Now, that was my introduction into wholesaling real estate. If you enjoyed what you just saw and want to know more about real estate, business, and see my journey towards making a difference in the world, feel free to hit the subscribe button followed by the bell icon so you can be notified when I post my next video, which will be every Monday. I'm Kendrick, and until next time, I'm out.